So this next panel is going to talk about a topic that's extremely important in my opinion. It's called Bitcoin, Building Bitcoin Infrastructure for Latin America. The first panelist is Rocelo Lopes, Samson, Paolo Ardoino, and the panel is going to be moderated by Sam Callahan. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me there? All right. I'm very excited to moderate this talk today. As Nico mentioned, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies like stablecoins can be a necessity for people. And we've actually seen explosive growth of cryptocurrency adoption in Latin America. If you just look at any of the statistics or surveys, like the Chainalysis Crypto Adoption Index, 3 of the top 20 countries are in Latin America. And so I wanted to go down the panel first and just maybe we can each give our perspective of why do you think there's so much adoption of cryptocurrencies in Latin America, and maybe Rocelo and Paolo, you can kind of give your unique perspectives, given your vantage points leading large companies that are servicing these clients. So let's start with Paolo and then go down the line.
Sure. So, can you hear me? Okay. Well, I think South America is, and Central and South America are special places where, and they are getting ready for a future. I'm very pessimistic on Europe, and I say it very publicly. And to me, Europe is and was the cradle of democracy, of innovation, and unfortunately, I see a decline in Europe. Switzerland is kind of different, like when Europe as in European Union maybe. But when we talk about emerging markets in developing countries, Central and South America are actually ready for a future of their new renaissance. The next leg of human or societal evolution, because I think that countries that have been rich and for the last few centuries never had the incentive to try to reform themselves. And when things get easy, then you are doomed for a decline. And that to me is like that. That is history, right? Happened to Rome, happened to all the different most important empires in the world. And we might going to see this more evidently in the next few decades. And I think the future is belonging to boutique countries, to boutique economies, to emerging economies that have the thirst to trying to change their fate and trying to gain traction while others are missing on new opportunities. And so the incentive for populations living in emerging markets, developing countries, and especially Central South America is much higher than anyone else. Right? You want whatever is new, whatever could give you an edge and an opportunity, you are more incentivized to try to take it. And especially, in plus, if you put together the fact that in Central South America there is there has been in the last 100 years a little bit of instability and uncertainty, and on the monetary side we see Argentina, we see Venezuela. People are very, very prone to technology. They are very, very smart. They are sick and tired of having to trust their local government and decisions, the monetary decisions of monetary policy decisions of their local governments. And so they just they will look for a better opportunity, for alternatives, right? So it's like a natural evolution. It's Darwinian. After you get punched in the face so many times, figuratively, you will try your best to protect your family, find the best tools to protect your families and friends and so on. And that is, is almost really natural selection. Generations of people that, sorry for the term, has been fucked by, the local currency and the local government will become smarter. And that is why the future belongs to them.
Samson?
So I think for Jan 3 and Aqua, we are interested in LATAM because we see that opportunity. And given that, predominantly I think everyone here is a Bitcoiner, a lot of us don't really understand the dynamic in Latin America, but there is a strong need for stablecoins. And this is what we are working on to bring Bitcoin to people that are using stablecoins. So you have probably 100 million plus people in Latin America that are familiar with Tether, but are not necessarily in Bitcoin. And we're fortunate that we can work with Paolo and everyone at Tether to try to roll that out to them in this form factor like Aqua, where you can swap into Bitcoin easily. But the demand right now in LATAM is really for digital dollars. Like, they don't even call Tether or UCT, they just call it digital dollars, which is a very interesting phenomenon. And it has to do with the difficulty to get dollars in LATAM. So first of all, a lot of people are unbanked. But second, it is extremely limited to get dollars, period, whether it is the banking system dollar or cash dollars. So they default to using stablecoins like Tether. And I think this is a high growth region with a lot of remittances. There are a few countries there, El Salvador included, where remittances is actually like 20+% of GDP, which is actually quite crazy. So I think for us, we really want to try to see what we can do to bring Tether and more so Bitcoin to these people.
Well, I'm from Brazil, and in Brazil it's 34 million users without a bank account, without access to the financial system, the traditional financial system. And like Samson said, and like Paolo said, they need another way to actually to survive, because having access to a financial system today is necessary. It's not something that you just can, okay, I'll do tomorrow. No, you need. Otherwise, you have problems. You cannot keep money inside your apartment. Just for you guys to have an idea, a lot of Chinese are being robbed in São Paulo because they cannot open a bank account and they are living there. Because they know as a Chinese, the only way for them to save their money is in a shoebox. So for those guys, they don't have option. But now, just we have USDT, which is now saving them. All those users, now they have an opportunity to be their own bank. So now they can open a bank account, they can download our wallet, which is connected straight to the financial system, or even Aqua, which also give them the opportunity to have USDT as their main currency, their main coin that they use on a daily basis. And Bitcoin became their savings wallet, which they are the bank. It's not someone taking care of it. It's themselves. They can do that. And that happened is just because the economy allowed us to do that. The big banks, they don't want to talk about it, but they want to sell Bitcoin or they want to sell ETF. But they want to talk about it. And then now we're giving power to people actually to hold USDT and Bitcoin. And the most important part, like Paolo said on the video, on the documentary from Tether, the beauty about it is when I want to use, I can go to a pharmacy, to a supermarket, I can go anywhere and I can pay. If they want the magic paper that you guys carry on the pocket, call it money, you can go to 24,000 ATM machines anytime in Brazil and you can withdraw money. And you convert USDT or Bitcoin, which even each user holds the only private key. Now, with this technology that we are doing for Latin America, is the first time in life that actually people is in control of the money. And I can decide any time that I want to use, I can use. And another number for you guys to know, a lot of Brazilians, they travel to Argentina, and guess what? They pay in Argentina straight from their bank account in Brazil. The Argentina merchant is receiving within 8 seconds USDT. Do you think they want to convert USDT to pesos? Fuck no. They don't want to. So you see, that is, and what is making this thing, and by the way, we and Argentinians, we don't get along, okay? Because Neymar is better than Messi for sure, all right? So, and we are 5 times championship, okay? But the cool thing, the bridge between our two countries, it's built, and is used USDT to be that bridge. That is the phenomenon that is happening in Brazil right now. At SmartPay, we are processing every single day 30,000 transactions every single day. Users converting USDT to reais. This is the magic what this technology can do. And thanks to Tether, it's been possible to do. And finally, the user holds the money on their wallet.
Well said. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So it's clear that there's a product market fit in Latin America, whether that's to protect themselves from currency debasement, financial inclusion, to make remittances cheaper. And so you guys are all builders on this panel. And I'm wondering, what's the most critical steps forward to service this demand for these users, to make it easier for them to use stablecoins and Bitcoin? Is it a focus on building better products and services? Is it education? Is it more regulatory frameworks that we have to teach the policymakers? Where do you guys see the efforts that you guys are focusing on to drive more demand for these products and to service these clients that need it the most? Start with you, Paolo.
Well, I think that one great example, we have two builders here. One has, Rocelo created an app that is connected directly to PIX, to the PIX system. So it's actually, breaking the barriers between the real world and the digital world, right? So you have on one side USDT that protects you from inflation, but on the other side you have to work in the real world. You need to be able to connect to the real world, to pay for real goods. And one of the mistakes that in our industry made for so many years is being obnoxious and thinking that everyone should understand all our buzzwords and all our the complication of our user experiences and so on and so forth. Actually, we should bring our level down, not in a bad sense, right? So most of the people outside of our bubble, not in terms of speculation bubble, but our own crowd, they don't have the time to understand how everything works. They have their lives, they drive a taxi, they teach at school, they have a shop. They really need what we are creating, but they need it in a way that it can inspire them trust, will not require them days of investigation to try and understand how to set it up, how to store the seed, and then 15 different warnings, and then you have to have the gas fee, but in another currency. All that is too complicated, and so it's up to us to take out the head from from under the sand and create something that actually works. And Samson with Aqua made one of the best user experiences ever, because it's actually bringing the holy grail of banking in one single app. On one side, you have the savings account that is Bitcoin, as how it should be, right? Bitcoin is the perfect savings account. And then on the other side, you will have money that is not throwaway money, but is something that you want to dispose. That is the checking account. But for most of the populations actually in the world, for many, so we are talking about billions of people, 3 billion people never had access to a bank account. So they are not familiar with the concept of savings accounts, checking account. For the Western world, for Europe and US, is obvious, but sometimes we are here in Switzerland. When I talk here to Swiss people, I tell them you are in the luckiest position ever. From here, from Switzerland, everything else is downhill, right? So the world has different needs, and if you think that everyone, and if when you look at technology, you have to look at with the eyes of everyone else in the world, because you are, again, in the luckiest position. So these are the rightful efforts of people that really put themselves in the shoes of someone that wants to be helpful, rather than participate to a pissing contest among geeks that want to build the coolest stuff ever.
I think that's exactly what needs to be done. Looking at things from the perspective of the end user, and in LATAM, they just really want the dollar. They want money, and they want it easy. And unfortunately, that leads to a bad side effect, which is they're using custodial exchanges like Binance, and they're just storing it there. And it's pretty dominant because they're looking so much for the convenience. But I think we can have a decent progress moving them to self-custody by pushing products like Aqua and keeping in mind that they don't want the complexity. They want something simple, easy to use. And I think maybe Aqua is the first Bitcoin wallet that's kind of prominently featuring Tether. And I was having lunch with a friend of mine, and he was saying, I wanted something like this 5 years ago, because the landscape could have been very different if there was a Bitcoin wallet that actually put Tether at the forefront. But right now, I think we are maybe the only one. True, there are two. But for the most part, the development of Bitcoin infrastructure is really focused on hardcore Bitcoiners and making very fancy features that people in LATAM don't want. But we're getting there, I think, and it's going to be one step at a time to move them in. But the fortunate thing is a lot of them are familiar with how Bitcoin and Lightning, to another extent, works because they've been using Tether. They know how to scan a QR code. They know how to check an address and copy and paste an address. So we have a good foundation to accelerate Bitcoin adoption there.
Well, there is one thing that Paolo mentioned, which is the usage has to be something very simple, has to be something very easy to do. And sometimes even people download some wallets and then they need to do a USDT transaction, they need something called gas. They have no idea what the hell gas is. And then they have to go create an account on exchange and then go through the KYC, the whole thing, and then they just need like 10 cents of dollar to do a transaction. And they have to send 100 reais to that exchange. It's very complicated. So what we did, in truth, what we did, we analyzed the entire market and then we put in a way to say, must be simple, must be easy to every single person to use, cannot be a language barrier on that thing, so must be based on symbols, on icons, and we need to kill this damn thing called gas. We have to make it easy to the user to use that and every day, and the user still need to be in control of the private key. So we did that to make it easy, but it's still complicated. There is something called 12 words, 24 words. My mom, she's 40 years old. If I tell my mom, you remember that the PIN code was like 4 digits, now it's 12 words. She's not going to use it. Forget about it, because it's too complicated. So we need to create better applications. We need to create easy applications, but at the same time, we have, on another hand, security. We have to make sure that thing's secure. And we have to also educate the user, say, listen, yeah, I know you want to do trades in some exchange, but be careful. And with who are you trading? Be careful what kind of exchange that you're using. For example, in Brazil, anyone with Bitfinex, if you're using Bitfinex account, you can go to Brazil and pay for a coffee. It's straight from the platform, using FastPay. That is something easy to go. You just go there, read the QR code, done, you pay. And you pay in Brazil something called Pix QR code, which is our payment system. So we need to come up with some solutions that make easy to the user to use. And the last thing, it is to educate also the regulator. Because the regulators, they have no idea what the hell are we doing. But if we don't have them on our side, there is no way to go to mainstream. If we don't have them on our side, forget about it. So that is a way to go. I think that's perfect for us to say we need education, but not just people, but also the regulator.
I just want to add something, Rocelo, you reminded me. I think cost is another factor there with the gas fees. So you have Ethereum as a rail that's very entrenched, and people still use it even though it's expensive because they're accustomed to it, they know it. Tron is very dominant, and that's mainly because they're cheap. And
it's still expensive.
It's getting expensive now. Yeah. And for Aqua, we're mainly on, our USDT is in Liquid. And I think we're making headway there. We've dropped the fees in Liquid down to about 3-4 cents. This is with the lowball update as a broader Project Tsunami update to make things faster and cheaper. But across the board, Liquid transactions should drop by a factor of 10, so roughly about 3 cents, which makes us very competitive with all of the other Tether chains out there. And I think we'll just have to push them and educate them that it's better to use this because one, it's cheaper, and then two, it's self-custody. You have your own keys, and you're not going to get rugged by having it on some custodial platform.
Yeah, just to add on Truther today, we are running on top of Polygon. Sometimes I want to kill whoever did that then blockchain, right? Just sometimes it's way too much for me, but fine, it's the one that we have available. But we also move into Liquid because faster and has something that all the banks in Brazil, and tomorrow we're going to do my talk 2:30 here, and I'll explain why. Confidential transaction. Most of people, they don't realize in Latin America, if you go to a place and then you pay from your wallet to that one, now, depends on the amount that you have in your wallet, you become a target, not a client. Because on blockchains, everything's so transparent, it's so nice, so cool, that when you transfer Bitcoin from wallet A to wallet B, guess what? The guy knows your balance, your transactions, and everything else. That happened the same thing for Tether. With our friend here, Liquid, it's cool because you don't have that, because you have confidential transaction. So I love that.
That's from Adam.
Well, I wanted to throw a question back to you, Rocelo, because you're from Brazil, and I don't know if you're familiar with the PIX system. I'm sure you are, but for everybody who doesn't, it's created by the central bank there. It's an instant payment system. It's been wildly popular over the last 4 years, gained all this adoption. I'm wondering how you see public blockchains competing with state-backed payment systems like that, and what are some of the limitations of public blockchains today? Do you think there's any public blockchain that is capable of handling the entire traditional financial system or payment system today?
Well, I'll say that right now, in the way it is, none. There is no blockchain in the world right now that can replace Visa, MasterCard, or even to compete with PIX. Right now, that isn't. With few tweaks that we can do in Liquid, for sure you have Liquid, the one to be. The reason, one, privacy, scalability. That is very, very important. Because when I see blockchains, they say, well, we can support 7,200 transactions per second. Yeah, let's see. Let's do from one single wallet to another if it's going to happen. No, it's not going to happen because I need the block to be mine and everything else. So that isn't. But with the needs that we have in the market now, and I'll tell you what is the best Trojan horse. It's called USDT. Because you put that inside the digital bank, as we are doing right now in Brazil. Brazil is going to be the first country in the world that the Brazilian central bank is going to be overwatching a digital bank transacting USDT as a dollar account. And why that is a Trojan horse? Because we're going to be running with Liquid, confidential transaction, and the government can see the transaction as they request, and then now we'll be able to check that and then escalate to the next level. And then for sure, in a couple of years, we're going to be seeing on normal POS machines, people asking you, you want to pay with Tether, you want to pay with Visa, you want to pay with MasterCard. And it's going to be something so normal that is going to be every single one has to use. But the actual blockchains and the way it is today, no way. There is no way. My hope is Adam do his thing, and then we can use Liquid for the future.
Where is Adam?
Let's ask Adam. Adam, please.
Paolo, how do you think about that? I mean, as the largest, privately issued stablecoin provider, how do you think of the rise of things like central bank digital currencies in the future, and how do you see them as competitors, or how do you view that?
So CBDCs are, well, in a way, I should be flattered because they are going to take, or they are trying to take the technology we created 10 years ago. But to me, they represent a real danger. So every day now, whenever you pay with your debit card, credit card, the transaction that you make, for example, you buy a coffee in a bar, that transaction stays between you and credit issuer. Like, it could be the bank that give you the debit card, or a payment processor, whatever. So that is, the information is quite confidential. The central bank does not have access to that transaction unless there is a crime, and then there is a judge involved, and then the organization that is the government can or a portion of that organization can access only a small portion of information. Now imagine a scenario where you remove that filter, that layer, that is, the institute of credit or the payment processor. Suddenly, every time that you swipe the card, you pay, the central bank will have access to every single payment that you make. So the central bank can understand where you are, so can geolocate you, your preferences, and so on and so forth. Right? That is, to me, one of the biggest threats. Ideally, we would like to not have anything to fear from the government, but we know that there are different types of governments, and the more power the governments will have, eventually they might use it against their own citizens or to control the citizens. So I think that CBDCs are a big threat to privacy, but also to the future of, let's say, of society and democracy. So in a way, I think that private stablecoins, of course, I'm biased to my company, but privately issued stablecoins like Tether offer or continue to offer that filter where we work with law enforcement because Tether is a centralized stablecoin, but at the same time, there is a filter, there is distance between the government and basically the say transaction keeper. So I think that the world is going to see that issue when it comes to privacy. I see that in the US there are different bills put forward in different states and also at the federal level to ban even the idea to propose a CBDC, because when it comes to privacy or like when we talk about the risks of increase of government control and oversight against the citizens, many people are taking this very seriously. And really, it's imagine even if you have your own wallet, a non-custodial wallet, and with a CBDC, if you can end up in a situation where if you make the wrong tweet, they will freeze your money. And so that is something that unfortunately certain countries will try. Some already did, but I think that people will always choose the best solution, that is the one that has protection or offer protection from rogue governments.
Yeah, no, if I'm thinking about like the best solution too, I mean, I think we can all agree like Bitcoin long term to store your wealth. I mean, stable coins still have counterparty risk and then inflation risk, right? And so how do you guys see this growing? Because obviously the demand for stable coins is there. I mean, people want to use them, but then also how does it grow with Bitcoin? Do you see it complementing it over time? Because right now we see explosive growth. Some people say, well, a lot of money that could have been going into Bitcoin is going into these stable coins, and they're not protecting themselves from inflation. But how do you see them growing? Do you see them complementing each other, or taking market share? I guess I'll start with you and then go down.
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, USDT is just a digital dollar, right? People that wanted the dollar or had the dollar cash or were used to use the dollar, they picked a different rail for the dollar. So USDT is like PayPal on a blockchain, or is just a different form of USDT. USDT is using of US dollar. USDT is just using blockchains as a transport layer for something that is centralized, and it has been there for the last 300 years. So nothing special. But what we can do with USDT, and actually at Tether, we are doing much more education. We never had a marketing team at Tether, so until 2022, right? So the reason why Tether has been successful is not because we are beautiful or super intelligent or great in marketing. I mean, now we have an incredible and insane marketing team that spends most of the time making memes. I'm joking, Sasha, if you are here hearing. But for the rest, I mean, people need this solution. People wanted to have the dollar because they have bigger problems than trying to understand what Bitcoin was. And I'm not defending that. I'm a Bitcoiner. I think that ultimately our necessity and our aim is to make sure that people understand that USDT is not Bitcoin. USDT is centralized. Bitcoin is the ultimate solution to protect your freedom, and is the ultimate solution that you need to understand and need to be able to use, because eventually shit will hit the fan. And when that happens, you need to be aware of that solution. You need to be capable to use it to protect your family, to protect your friends, and so on and so forth. So it's a transition moment. And is a Trojan horse.
Got it. Samson, what do you think?
Just to add, I made my own Tether T-shirt in like 2017 or 18. So I started your marketing team. So I think there's not really a competition with Bitcoin and stablecoins. I think there are some Bitcoiners that say, well, if there were no stablecoins, there would be more Bitcoin adoption. But that's not really realistic. People are seeking out Tether, right? It's not like a Tether is going to push it. They created you created a product, and there's perfect product market fit. So people are seeking it out. And they don't even really know. Some don't know it's Tether. They're just getting digital dollars. So I don't think it's that we're competing. I see it as an opportunity that Tether opened up the market in Latin America, and we can use that opportunity to get more people into Bitcoin. And I think I don't know about you, but I think stablecoins and the dollar won't last forever. I'm of the view that it's maybe 5 to 10 years, and then we're all into Bitcoin, simply because behind Tether is the dollar, and they're not really managing the dollar well. Debt is on the rise. We'll have $1 trillion in debt service payments, interest payments every year, right?
Yeah, and also, when I think about USDT and the future, being European, I remember, when I was studying in high school, I was taught about the Weimar Republic, right? So in year 1920, you could, after the First World War, you could go in. The German mark lost so much, purchasing power that with a wheelbarrow of German marks, you could buy a loaf of bread, right? From the point of view as stablecoin issuer, the only important thing is that, we have $120 billion under management. When there are redemptions, we have to give back 120 billion. If with that 120 billion you can buy chewing gum, is not our problem, right? It's not the problem we are trying to solve. So eventually, I agree with Samson. We are seeing that US is printing $1 trillion every 100 days. They printed $2.7 trillion in a year and a half when nothing happened. Like in 2023 and 2024, nothing much happened. And yet $2.7 trillion were printed. So it really, I think the current fiat monetary system will have to come to an end, just because when they removed in 1971 the underlying backing, they triggered a cascading effect, a domino effect that cannot be stopped. So for that, that's why it's important to start working on user experiences and better tools, because when people will need it the most, they should be able to use Bitcoin in their day-to-day lives and click on a switch and basically just move everything to Bitcoin and just being able to use Bitcoin as they were using USDT or whatever else they had.
That's one thing that I agree a lot. I think it's going to take maybe 10 years for us to be using Bitcoin every day. But especially the way we are treating is, let's use the experience for a stablecoin to be that bridge, to build in a way to be easy. So at Truther, we make a way to so easy to the user convert right there, even to say, for example, I can receive reais in Brazil, and every single user can receive reais, including you guys can receive reais, and it will be converted within seconds in Bitcoin. So we already create that bridge. So in the future, well, today is too volatile. Yeah, it's hard to use, but we are already training everyone to say, copying them, savings account. We are telling everyone, say, your Bitcoin is your savings account. And actually, it's quite cool in Aqua because it's saying savings account, which is nice. So it's a better way for us to train everyone to say, Bitcoin is your savings account for the future too. Like Paolo said, one day this thing's gonna go down and that's it, you need your savings. So you'll be your savings. So I think in probably 10 to 15 years, we all gonna be using Bitcoin as we're using credit cards, as we're using USDT. But the beauty is now we have USDT to help us, to help the users to actually to build nice stuff and then to be able to use every day. And for all our users, we are teaching them by just a little bit, but you start to have your own savings and enjoying to be the banker.
I just want to add to your CBDC point and how it would compete, or could it compete with stablecoins? I think it's very difficult because, as we've talked, there is so much interoperability with Tether and legacy systems and with Bitcoin. With the CBDC, it has to be controlled. I don't see it being an open network, right? So, at the same time that the fiat currencies will phase out, the governments that want a CBDC have to figure out how to create something which can't really compete with Tether unless they do a USD stablecoin, right? No, every fiat currency is a derivative of USD in some form or fashion. So you can make a CBDC of, I don't know, some peso, one of the pesos, but who will want that? Because if they did want that, they wouldn't be seeking the dollar right now. But at the same time, there is this problem of interoperability. So how do you get rid of cash and force everyone to use the CBDC when you have a cross-border movement of people? Like, if I land in Argentina, how do I get the CBDC app and actually convert to it? They would need to hook into, I don't know, some Canadian ID system to ID me, but that doesn't work. So you have this compatibility issue that is just a stop sign right away, where you can roll it out to a local population, but how does it interface with the rest of the world? And I don't think most governments are going to be capable of solving that problem remotely.
Yeah.
You know what, Samson, in Brazil, our government, they tried to do the CBDC, failed big time.
Yeah.
Big time. They did some tests, no privacy, zero privacy. So now imagine you transfer money to your friend and you go to a blockchain and then you can see your friend's balance and transactions and everything. That was the CBDC done in Brazil. Congratulations to the government. Yeah, failed big time. But it's going to be, and then how do you connect to the smart contracts? How you do this, how you do that? I think they're going to take a little while to come up with something very smart and intelligent.
Yeah. Governments aren't that great with tech. I think we can all agree on that. But we're out of time, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, sharing your insights and building.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for listening.